What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down 3 tips for wide receivers to run more explosive and to run better routes. So we're going to be talking about 3 of the most common mistakes that wide receivers will make on their routes. We're going to be showing some good examples, some bad examples of route running, and just how you guys can add these different things to your game to be a better wide receiver. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it teaches you a few new things. And also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you want to work with us this offseason, I myself and my staff of coaches, we are traveling out to 4 more states across the U.S. for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camps. So we're going to be coming out to Dallas, Texas this weekend. Then we're heading out to Nashville, Tennessee, Salt Lake City, Utah, and then Los Angeles, California. So if you guys are local to those areas or would like to travel out and get some work in with us for 2 whole days, fellas, in a small group environment and for 4 hours each day, a ton of work, ton of reps, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to have you out. Let's get started with this video. So this first route here is going to be an outside release dig route. Okay, so I'm going to play this thing full speed and then we'll break down the situation. So this wide receiver does a great job of selling fade, snapping the hips down, and then being able to create separation back underneath. So what does this situation, when does this apply? So obviously he's taking an outside release, DB's on his inside hip, and he has to run a dig. So usually this comes from a situation where off the line, a DB's inside shaded press. Okay, so anytime that you come up to the line, a DB's lined up inside shade, we never want to force the inside release, right? I never want to think that, oh, just because I have an inside breaking route, I got to run an inside release. And so guys will force the release, they'll get walled, this DB will get hands, and they'll force them all the way to the middle of the field. That'll screw up spacing, and it could lose you separation. So you got to be very comfortable taking this outside breaking, or an outside release on an inside breaking route. Now, when it's man coverage, one of the most common mistakes that wide receivers will make leading into a route is that they will start to round their pad level before the break. Obviously, this is a hell of a break. This is a great example of a wide receiver snapping their hips down, being violent with their hips, and getting out of a break on a dime. Now, what a lot of wide receivers will do is right before that break point, they start to turn their shoulders and they start to turn their hips. And that telegraphs / gives away where you are making this break, and it gives away your route. So in man coverage, where's the DB supposed to be watching? And you can see it right here. He's looking at my hips. And this is great coverage by this DB. He's doing the right things. A lot of DBs will have their eyes really high, or their eyes won't be on the wide receiver's hips. They won't be disciplined. But this DB does. And how we can beat a good DB is by not giving any kind of route indicators. So one of the main indicators is, like I said, receivers turning their shoulders and turning their hips. So because they're maybe not confident in this hip drop, because they're maybe not confident in this snap down or trigger step, wide receivers will start to turn. And when you start to turn, all that does is let the DB know where you're going because your hips are changing direction. The only change in your hips should be the drop of your hips at the break point, so we could slip back underneath and be able to gain back that leverage and win on this route. It all comes down to selling vertical, fellas. And selling vertical comes from your speed, it comes from your stride, but also it comes from your body language. The 2 mistakes guys will make on their body language, and we're going to talk about another mistake after this, is they'll start to round, like I said, or they will start to raise. If you can keep a consistent pad level, and what I mean by pad level is this right here, your body language, all the way until the break point, and the hip drop changes direction for you, not a raise up and then a hip drop, not a chop of the feet, not beating the drums. That violent hip drop is what changes direction for you. You can get separation. So that is textbook right there from this wide receiver. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job selling fade. Great job dropping those hips and not giving away the route with his upper body. So this route is not necessarily a bad route. This is a pretty dang good route. He got open. He won the rep. He did all the right things, but he did something that a lot of wide receivers do leading up into the break that can make you lose separation, and that is shortening your stride. So he's going to be running like a 10-yard out off of a dive release. So a dive release is pretty much where you take 2 hard steps to the inside, get that DB to flip just like he did. But you see how this is not necessarily like wide open. He's open, but he's not wide open because he kind of telegraphed where he was going to run. Now, he didn't turn his upper body like we were talking about. He didn't start to slow down, right? His upper body stayed committed the entire time. But what changed was his stride length. Okay, so when you guys lead into a break and you see when you come off the line, obviously the goal here is what? The goal is to get this DB to open up his hips and run vertical with us. So he's going to be doing that. You're in something called his blind spot right now. He's only going to react if we force him to react. And that means running fast. That means running hard. So when he's leading up into this break, you see how he's got full stride, choppy stride leading into the break. And that choppy stride is what a lot of wide receivers, and again, Dotson's a great route runner. I'm not trying to say that. I'm not trying to say he's a bad route runner. This is just one of those reps where sometimes guys get a little bit tripped up. And a lot of young wide receivers do the exact same thing. But when you chop your feet and you shorten your stride, a DB who's running hip to hip with you is no longer threatened by the fade. Because when you're running a fade route, you got your head forward, your freaking stride. Now you're trying to run as hard as you can to win over the top. That is something that will help you get space. I had somebody leave a comment a little while ago, and I really liked what they said. They said that, oh, you almost want to pretend like you're chasing a ball. Like the ball was thrown over your shoulder, and you're trying to go chase it when you're trying to sell a route. Because that will really, it almost like shifts your mindset that this DB, and it will make this DB overcommit, think that you're running the fade, and we could cut it off on a dime. Now, it's a lot easier said than done to say, hey, run in full stride, run in full speed all the way to that break point. Now, how you guys can improve that is because it's very hard to cut off of one step, and I know a lot of guys struggle with that. And how you guys can improve that is by improving your leg strength, by improving your ankle stability, your knee stability, doing a lot of one-legged exercises, whether that's in the gym, whether that's on the field, you're working some kind of hop training, whatever it might be. But you just have to work on those certain things to translate to on-the-field play. This is why a lot of wide receivers, they train wrong. You know, they're lifting like bodybuilders. They're doing workouts on the field that don't build these things. They're doing the obstacle course footwork drills. Like, hey, guys, that's not going to get you better at these aspects of the game that we need to get better at. You got to be doing things in the gym to work on your explosiveness, one-legged stuff, balance stuff, stability work. All those things translate to on-field play because we are football players first before we are bodybuilders, if you will, or power lifters. We have to train like a football player, and we have to do game realistic things on the field to build these skills. And then because we have the knowledge, whether it's from watching these videos or having a good receiver coach, you can actually apply those things. It has to be a combination of both. You can't just watch film and then get it down, just walk out of bed and get it down one day. You have to build constantly every day, get 1% better. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. So fellas, make sure to be that explosive, that elite route runner. You cannot chop those strides leading into a break. Trust either the cut leg or in the situation where you drop your hips, trust that hip drop. Okay. So now, last clip I want to talk about here is we're going to talk about how wide receivers who can restack are usually probably the most dangerous wide receivers against man coverage. So this is going to be a fade route, and this is something that a lot of wide receivers don't necessarily do on a fade route. So we have an inside shade leverage, right? So if you're familiar with this channel, you know that I talk a lot about leverage. I talk a lot about how to attack leverage, when a DB's playing a certain look, inside shade, outside shade, whatever it might be, right? So he's inside shade, and he's running a fade here. So obviously what we would want to do is we'd want to threaten him inside. We'd want to attack him inside. I'd want to try to give him a head fake to the inside to try to get him to move, try to get him to hesitate so I get a free outside release and keep timing with my QB. Now this wide receiver doesn't necessarily sell it as well as I would like, but it's still a pretty dang good route, but he sets it up through his restack so the QB can fade him. So let's play this thing full speed. So this wide receiver, again, could give a little bit better of a release, but that shoulder dip that you see on that stem, and it happens quick, is what sets him up to get into this position. He doesn't just go here and just take off and run, right? He doesn't just get this guy by a step and just take off. He's starting to dip this inside shoulder so he could restack and get back over the top of the DB because he knows that I need to give this QB space to throw me open. That's where so many wide receivers go wrong, and it's not only on fade routes, it's on every route. They'll think on an outside breaking route. They'll think, okay, he's inside shade, I just got to give him something quick, and I can just go run away from him. But if you're running let's say, an out route, a corner, a comeback, all those routes require the quarterback to lead you, and it requires the quarterback to throw it on time. But if you close off the space and you get rerouted, and let's say the sideline's here and you're breaking and you got 2 yards to run to the sideline, QB ain't throwing that. Because if there's a DB on your hip, that is a pick, and that is a pick six. There is nobody there to stop him and make that tackle. So fellas, we have to understand the importance of that restack. Whether it's you're here and you're fighting his hands, whether you're just trying to swat him down, I'd tell my receivers pretend like that DB has crap underneath his fingernails and you don't want him to touch you, or it's dipping this shoulder. Dip that shoulder to rip back underneath just so we have some space for the QB to throw us open. This play does not happen if that DB does not get worked inside because of the restack, and if I just try to run around it. It will not happen. Again, inside, even if he's outside shade and you have an inside route, same principle applies, fellas. Let's say, for example, we go back to the top, and let's say instead of inside shade, he's outside shade. And let's say I got to run a post. If I got to run this post and he's outside shade and I just take off and run and he gets hands and he squeezes me to the inside and I break on that post, but I also have a dig route, I also have maybe something more shallow underneath, I got more defenders over here, you're running into the play concept. Spacing of the play matters so we can isolate a specific defender. Let's say, for example, let's say he's running this post. We have a dig from here, but we have this outside shade press. And let's say there's a safety here. We're trying to get this safety to maybe crash on that dig or to run with the post. But if we get rerouted and my post gets cut off short, that free safety can guard both of us. He can guard the dig and he can guard the post simply by just reading the QB's eyes, reading his feet, and wherever he throws that ball. So we have to understand spacing, fellas. We have to understand giving the QB space to make this throw, and that's what can make us a dangerous route runner and make that QB look good and make us look good. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Again, right idea, could sell the inside a little bit more, but he makes up for it by restacking, pushing back up vertical to give that QB space to fade him outside. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. Always great hearing from you guys as usual. And again, fellas, if you'd like to come out to one of our off-season training camps, we're coming out to Dallas, Nashville, Salt Lake City, and Los Angeles. So again, very first link below. I'll see you guys next time.